מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר. בינות אשר ירביצני על מי מנוחות ינחלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי הלך בגצון מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. דשנת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדיפוני כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. I've chanted for you the words of our 23rd Psalm. As we search for comfort, we often turn to the psalmist, and so I ask you now to recite these words with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of help, we will remember her. And when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember Estelle Simon. To her children, to Sue and Dan, also to Merrill, and her grandchildren, Matthew and Aaron, Julia and Lisa, also to Rachel and John, to her great-grandchild Tripp, and to her sisters-in-law Jackie and Nancy, and to so many dear and cherished members of the family, and to so many wonderful friends. We've gathered today to remember, but also to celebrate the life of your beloved Estelle. We've been taught that birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and from youth to age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, but often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray, to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, and from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, We see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Estelle's journey of more than 90 years began here in Cleveland. She was born July 16, 1928, to Ethel and Eugene Sarbin. She and her younger brother Alan grew up in the famed Kinsman neighborhood. These were, of course, some of the most challenging years in our nation's history. And while there were tough times around them, and I'm sure tough times that the family had to endure, they worked hard and they fared well. Her mother was a homemaker and her father a pharmacist. And Estelle enjoyed a happy childhood. When she was just 13 years old, there was a neighborhood friend, and this pal was also friends with the young Leonard Simon. This buddy of Leonard's said to him that some girl had moved into the upstairs portion of his friend Irv's duplex. And in the words of Lenny's pal, when he was talking about this gal, he said, "She was wow." That wow girl was Estelle Sarbin. Lenny and Estelle became classmates, and they were soon inseparable. Wherever she went, he sort of followed. She worked part-time as a teenager at Kritzer's Bakery, and Lenny hung around as often as possible. And when at this bakery she was making 25 cents an hour, her boss would tell her often that he would give her a raise if only she would stop eating so many cookies. Leonard was always over at Estelle's house, and her mom would always have to shoo him out the front door, and he would sneak in through the back door. They remained close throughout their high school years, and they graduated together from John Adams High School, and a few years following that milestone, when they were both 20, Estelle and Leonard married. The wedding took place on November 7th, 1948, at the Temple on the Heights, with Rabbi Rudolph Rosenthal officiating. And just as Estelle and Lenny stood side by side beneath the chuppah, beneath the wedding canopy, it is also true that they stood side by side throughout 69 years of marriage. In the Jewish wedding ceremony, we have what's called the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding blessings. And in these blessings, the bride and groom are referred to as Re'im Ahuvim. This literally translates to mean loving partners. And they were loving friends, loving partners, partners in family, partners in business, partners in life. Together they enjoyed fun times with their Cousins Club, and they truly loved holidays and celebrations with this very large extended family. This hardworking couple together built a business. Their first endeavor was the Union Center Market, a grocery store in the Kinsman area. And by 1974, that blossomed into Farmhouse Food Distributors, a business that still thrives, involving the second and third generations since Dan, followed by Matthew and Aaron, joined the company. Some of the best and sweetest memories for the whole family were summer getaways. The cottage in Madison, Ohio, along with Jackie and Richard and their daughters, Lori and Amy, and the great time shared at Catawba Island, a place that started off as a summer getaway and then grew into a permanent residence once Estelle and Lenny opted for retirement. Jackie also had a house right next door at Catawba. And then eventually Leonard and Estelle wintered in Sunrise, Florida, and then made that full-time residency beginning in 2008. Meryl, I know you were a daughter-in-law, but more like a daughter. You spoke of Lenny and Estelle's relationship as loving, codependent, but not in a bad way codependent in the most romantic way. You said that they adored each other and they lived for each other. And Sue, in speaking of your mom, you shared with me that she taught you so many important life lessons. You learned much from her. In your childhood years, Sue, she was your Girl Scout troop leader. It's hard to imagine that she had time to do anything because of her dedication to the business, but she forced herself to make the time. She was there, she took you to Girl Scouts, and you schlepped your little brother to every Girl Scout meeting. He is an honorary Girl Scout for sure. Sue, in your adult years, you described your mom as someone who was so helpful. You working so hard to raise two boys as a single mom. When mom reached out to help, you accepted that help. You described a mom and a dad who spent so much time with your boys. And I know the boys remember sweet times at Catawba, learning how to fish, and then learning how to fry the fish. Always some beautiful memories with the grandparents. Dan, you have memories of driving as a family with your sister and your mom and dad to the World's Fair in New York City. Of course, you have also beautiful memories of Madison and Catawba. These were some of your best times. And the family reunions at Catawba, where your parents would cook enough for an army. Your mom, you said, was the glue that held these reunions and this extended family together. You described her as a caring woman who deeply cared about family. It wasn't just you and your sister, but she adored her nieces and nephews, and the feelings that they had towards their Aunt Estelle were mutual. And Dan, after graduating from college, you went to work for the family business. This was in 1978. You said that your mom had a great mind for business and numbers and names, and her people skills were just amazing. Now, I asked you, was it hard working with your mom and dad? I think we all hear a lot of stories. They don't always have the best endings about families in business together. You said that your mom taught you how to run a business and that working with her was always a good situation. You had a mutual respect. And to see your parents working side by side for so many years, you described that also as a good situation. You said that they helped each other, and in working so hard together, they were able to provide for you and Sue, and they also were able to put away a little something so that they could enjoy their golden years together. She was a woman who adored, loved, cherished her 4 grandchildren. They all have such sweet memories in their hearts. But I was recently told, just moments before the service began, that 9-month-old Trip, who is over there cooing, was her favorite. We thank God for our many blessings in life, and we certainly thank God for the blessings of FaceTime. While she was able to meet Trip a couple times in person, FaceTime was a wonderful way for Estelle to always see him growing. And to hear his little voice right now in the background is just such a beautiful and life-affirming sound. So we thank Trip for being here as well. Estelle was a woman who, if you asked her a question, you knew you were going to get a straight answer. And she was wise. She was a very smart, down-to-earth, common sense type of woman. She was crafty with her needlepoint and the phase that she went through enameling ashtrays. But I'm going to let Meryl have the last word because, Meryl, you said she was one of the smartest women you ever knew. That's quite a compliment. I know that you and Dan and Sue are moved and overwhelmed in the most beautiful ways by the outpouring of notes, emails, messages from all of your friends. People speaking of your mom, of your grandmother, as someone who they admired and loved dearly. And while that message goes right to our heart, we know that no stronger message goes to the heart than words which come from the heart. We have a few people now from the family who have words from their heart that they want to share with all of us. First, I would like to call on her daughter, Sue.
The light in me honors the light in you, and in that place together we are one. Namaste. When I saw my mom's soul leave her body, it was just like the meaning of Namaste. I felt the vibration of unconditional love, almost as if the boundaries between seen and unseen had dissolved. I receive signs from all around me, and I feel her love within my heart. What a blessing. I love you, Mom. Your passing has made me sensitive to the divine messages all around me. And especially I thank you for helping me have the courage to deal with profound life lessons, and with beginning to truly grasp that everything happens for a reason. It's all for the greater good, and nothing is as it seems. And thank you all for being here, offering your warm empathy and kindness, helping me and my family with the loss of someone so dear to all of us. Thanks. Namaste.
Thank you, Sue. I'd also like to call on her son, Dan, who has words to share with us as well.
My mother was a very special person. Whether you knew her as Est, Grammy, Aunt Estelle, Ma, or as my father called her, Stella, she was always there to offer sage advice. Everyone was important to her. Before you knew it, she would know and remember your entire life story. She had a great memory for names, dates, and details to the very end. I also knew her as a business partner. She was way ahead of her time as a female business owner in the 1970s. She built our family business from the ground up. Thanks to her vision and guidance, we are now a 44-year-old third-generation business. I couldn't have asked for a better mentor and role model. She taught me how to work hard and how to handle the successes and the failures. She taught me to stay focused day to day and also to stand back and see the big picture. She had another great vision, a summer home at Catawba Island. It started as a summer rental while my father recuperated from a broken leg. But my mom saw it as a home and a gathering place for the family. It turned into a great place with a boat for fishing, a golf cart where all the grandkids learned to drive, bonfires, and a huge garden which supplied the whole street with tomatoes and cucumbers. Many people in this room have happy memories from Catawba. And now she's back at my father's side, and may they rest in peace together.
Thank you, Dan. So I mentioned the adoration that she had for her nieces and nephews and that they had for her. And so I would like to call on our last speaker, her niece, Debbie. Adam, did you want to come up also?
Yeah. Hi. So just before I make my comments, we were the family that lived the farthest away, and we didn't always have an opportunity to be close and physically with Estelle and Leonard, but we spent our times at the lakes with them, and so my remembrances are sort of very similar, but from a distance, and so I find that to be fascinating. So. Cherished daughter, wife and partner, sister, sister-in-law, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and aunt, mentor, friend, best friend. Estelle was all of these things. She was my aunt, and from my earliest remembrances, she was a towering figure. Though petite, as you knew her in stature, she was a giant in every other way to me. Wonderful, amazing, beautiful. And looking back, she was one of my very first mentors, and I've had some, but she's the best. I marveled at her strength of character and appreciated the way she connected with me whenever we were together, whether it was near or far, but electronically or in person. And she always seemed to know what I was doing. I looked up to Estelle and wanted to be just like her. Intelligent, inquisitive, well-read, Estelle was a lifelong learner. She was determined, hard-working, and had a sharp entrepreneurial spirit, which you've heard about. She possessed a solid moral and ethical compass, and she made a difference in so many people's lives, including my own. With Leonard and later Danny as her partner, she provided jobs, careers, and a good, honest living for so many people here in Cleveland. I'm convinced that born 40 years later, she would have risen to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company today, and that's how brilliant and naturally talented she was. As accomplished as she was in business, Estelle also enjoyed the distinction of being an extraordinary caregiver. Her life was filled with friends and family members to whom she was deeply devoted, and many miles away we could feel it even from where we were. She gave freely of her time, her energy, and her resources. She was exceedingly compassionate, genuinely interested in and understood people. She lent a sympathetic ear and shoulder when needed and was forever patient and forgiving. To say that being in the warmth of her love and care was a real honor and a blessing is simply inadequate. It was a privilege. I know that's how her brother, my father, felt and why he doted on her, checking in every Monday at 11 a.m. for an update on her health and happiness, right up until his death, almost 2 years ago. My only hope is that we were able to lend her a hand, offer her a compassionate ear, lift her spirits, and brighten her day from time to time, the way she did for us. Estelle was my aunt and mentor. She was a strong, smart, caring, compassionate woman. I looked up to her and wanted to be just like her, and that is still a work in progress.
So I'm going to do the best I can to read my own handwriting. The world lost a beloved woman last week. She was kind and generous, loving and forgiving, and graceful to a fault. The Simon extended family lost our beloved matriarch. I think someone, I don't know who said it, but she was the glue that kind of kept us all together. I think as a kid growing up in Omaha, as Deb said, geographically separated, I think my grandmother used to say, no one goes to Omaha unless they have to. We were separated from our family, and I don't think I truly considered Aunt Estelle the matriarch. I mean, I was a kid, what did I know? I just knew that the center of our family universe was here in Cleveland, Ohio, and more specifically, this great house on Charney Road. It's where we gathered. I was envious of all my cousins because they all lived close by and got to be together more often than we did at Fun Central. The best trips as a kid were loading up the car and heading east on I-80 to Cleveland, anticipating getting together in the back den with all the cousins, gathered around the extended table that went from the back of the house all the way to the front window for holidays, and hiding under that same table when it was my turn to say the 4 questions at Passover in front of all those people. These are some of my most fond memories. The true nature of Estelle became clear to me as an adult and eventually as a husband and a father. The center of our universe moved out to Port Clinton, but we loaded up from Virginia, traveled a different path, but always, like moths to a flame, we found our way to our destination, which was wherever Estelle and Leonard were. And as we began families of our own, she just widened her net. She made everyone around her feel special. There were always big family pictures when we were all together, and she always had something planned to make the experience special when our kids were young. I don't think any of them who are old enough to remember will ever forget the Sarban Simon cousin-niece beauty pageant when everyone was a winner in their age group. She was a special lady. Last night at Dan and Merrill's, we finished the evening roasting marshmallows. And at one point, we all were drawn to the flames. And someone said, this is something Estelle would love. She was with us and will always be with us in our hearts and memories. She was and still is our flame.
At this time, we take a moment of silent reflection as we ask God to receive Estelle's soul. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rites in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we knew, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. As you are able, I invite you to rise for the memorial prayer, El Mole Rachamim. El Mole Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Amse Menucha Nechona Tachat Kamfech HaShchina, Bemalot Kedoshim Utorim Kezohar Arakia Masirim. את נשמת יקירנו שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים אסתירך בסתר כנפיך לעולמים ותטרור בצרור חיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן. O merciful God, who dwells on high, who is full of compassion, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament. To our dear departed Estelle Simon, who has gone now to her eternal home, may Estelle's soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and grant that her memory inspire all of us to noble and consecrated living. And to this we say, Amen. Our service of memory will continue at the Zion Memorial Park Cemetery. Following the interment, the family will receive visitors today until 8 p.m. This will be at the residence of Dan and Merrill Simon. Their home is located at 19800 Fairmount Boulevard in Shaker Heights. Anyone wishing to make a contribution in memory of Estelle, the family has asked that you might consider the National Council of Jewish Women of Cleveland. On behalf of the family, we thank you for your love and support on this sad yet important day.